Hey everybody, it's Tom with TKI. Today we are in the shop and we are going to do an install video on the Timbersled. Alright, with every kit you're going to receive 2 gears, a belt, a hardware kit. This will have 2 black bolts in it. They are ARP bolts. We're replacing the factory bolts. I don't like reusing the factory bolts, but you will reuse the factory washer that goes with this bolt. And then you'll also receive the case and an aluminum cover. So the case has already got the tensioner mounted in it. So we're going to go ahead and pull the parts off of the bike and get this assembled. I like to use a Milwaukee 18 volt impact. You'll need a 13 mil socket, 15 mil socket, a small 1/4 inch drive with a 10 millimeter, a 9/16, a 15 millimeter, a torque wrench, some blue Loctite, and some metric Allen wrenches. And that is basically what you need to install this kit. So we'll start the install. So you want to take your 13 millimeter on your impact and just remove the 5 nuts on the outside of the case. Now you'll need your 15 millimeter and remove the top and bottom sprocket bolts. Like I was saying, you will reuse the stock washer, but not the stock bolt. You'll need to take your 15 millimeter ratchet wrench and reach inside here and loosen the tensioner. And then you can just take the tensioner completely off. And you can thread this back together, and then that can go with your extra parts. Now you can slide chain and the gears off. Obviously you can see that it's really fluid. And then the steel spacers that space out the steel gears, those also come off. Now if you want, you could actually wipe all of this down nice so it's nice and clean to get all that chain lube off the side plate. All right, so now we are ready to mount the case up. So one tip that I got from Brock Hoyer, who's been running this, is Brock likes to take a nice big bead of silicone and put it around the inside of this counter bore. So that way when it seals to the case, now it's going to seal all this, and obviously you can see all of this is sealed. So basically it's going to create a watertight area. You could even put a little bead around this opening to go around the head of the bolt. So that way you're not going to get any water come in the back side of the kit. It's obviously optional. If you'd like to do it, you can. Otherwise, you don't have to. We use the factory bolts. Factory bolts slide right on. All right, once you get the case put on, you'll need to grab the 5 13 millimeter nuts that you removed earlier. These are nylock nuts, but once you use them on nylock once, it never seems like they hold quite the same. So I still like to use blue Loctite, and I will put a drop of blue Loctite on each of these bolts on the end of them before I install the nuts. And then you can finger start them. And then if you want, you can spin them on the rest of the way with your impact. But don't spin them on too tight because we do need to torque them yet. So now you can grab your torque wrench, and this one is a digital torque wrench. And if you set it at 25 foot-pounds, that will be what you want to torque the outside case bolts to. All right, so now you got your case bolts torqued, Loctited. That is kind of the hardest part about the kit of putting it on. So now you can go ahead and start with your gears. The gears slide on. Remember, you took the steel spacers off the inside, so your gears will slide right onto the stock splines, top and bottom. And at this point, if you like, it just depends, you can actually put your belt on. So you can put your belt over your top gear or your bottom gear and then around your tensioner. And push your tensioner up out of the way. And then make sure that your belt is on the inside of the outer flange of the adjuster. So if you open up your hardware kit now, you can take out your adjuster bolt and also your two bolts that hold the top and bottom gears on. So with the adjuster bolt, you can start there, spin your jam nut on. I would say you're probably going to have to go 3/4 of the way on. And this bolt can be trimmed. So we do send you an extra long bolt just because we do plan on offering another ratio for this kit. So yes, it basically slightly comes in contact with the plastic here, but it will, once you screw it down, it will be out of the way. So now let's just go ahead and install our top and bottom bolts. And when I put Loctite on bolts, I like to put the Loctite on the length of the bolt. Don't just put one drop out here. Put it down the whole length of the threads, kind of like that. Because if you put it there and you end up threading it in, say 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch of threads, by the time you disperse all the Loctite here and it gets here, you basically diluted it to the point that you don't have any Loctite on the bolt and the bolt could come loose. All right, so once you get the top and bottom bolt started with the blue Loctite on it, and I have to correct myself, you actually need a 12 millimeter for the ARP bolts that we use. So once you get your 12 millimeter, you can go back to your digital torque wrench. And these you'll want to set at 40 foot-pounds. You may have to have someone help you hold the brake because the bike is going to want to roll. So I'll have my wonderful assistant hold the brake. Now that we have the top and the bottom bolts torqued, now we can adjust the belt with the tensioner screw. So you can screw the tensioner screw down until it comes in contact with the tensioner. You can also push on it and then take up your slack easily and quickly. So when you go to tension it, you'll need a 9/16 wrench and push from the inside out. So you want it to move about 1/4 of an inch with about 5 pounds of force. So if you pinch it, just use one finger and about 5 pounds. So it's just a little bit loose now. That is exactly where I would set it. And I always go in between or the center of the case. So even in between these two screws. Now you can take your jam nut, twist it down against the side of the case, and then tighten it up. Now we can go ahead and put the outer cover on. We use an aluminum outer cover. We do not use a plastic outer cover. I prefer to use the aluminum covers because it always seems like if you find a rock or a stick or tip the bike over in a bad spot, if you break the plastic cover, there's always a chance of getting a rock or snow or ice in with the chain or with the gears and the belt and the tensioner, and that does not mix well with these components. So that's why we use an aluminum outer cover. There is a lip machined in the case that the outer cover drops right into, so it's a nice smooth finish on the outside. And now we can install the 6 screws that hold the outer cover on. You will need a 4mm Allen wrench. And with these, you can put Loctite on them. If you want to use the Allen wrenches, you can. Otherwise, if you want to go to the hardware store and get yourself some hex heads, you can do that as well. We include these with the case. I don't put Loctite on these. And that is it. Timbersled kit is installed, adjusted, belt tension is set. So now all you've got to do is go out and enjoy it.